get us in a good spot. I brought the problem-solving monster in case we need to talk about problems. I also brought our rubber duck friend in case we have any programming problems that we need to debug. Obviously, the programming problems will be in the ones inside of our heads. If you don't know about explaining your problems to a rubber duck, I would love to see it more in the mental health world. I think it's actually a really smart technique. So maybe we'll do a video on that sometimes to explain what that's all about and how we'd apply that in a mental health context. I'm out on the balcony. I've got my tripod balanced here on a box. I've got my alpaca shirt on, which is a quality, beautiful alpaca that gets me ready for being in the Andes with the spirit of an alpaca. Of course, if you're new to Brain Tech Support Live, this is where we get together. We bring our thought, urge, emotion appliances into the shop, and we obviously take them out of the box. Although you should never take your thought appliance out of the box unless under the supervision of a skilled, very, very skilled professional. And then we play around with the wires. We tighten some loose screws. We swap in some new spark plugs and all of that kind of stuff. Dallas, welcome. Good morning to you. I've got some coffee here. Enjoying it. Isabella, hi. I'm not new. We're being new. It's really a state of mind. So welcome. Yeah, of course, in the Andes. I am in the Andes. I can see them. Hi, Andes. Graham, welcome. Doing well. How are you doing today? I hope everybody is, having a good time. In some parts of the world, we're getting into spring. In some parts of the world, the long, dark winter is coming to an end, which is great. Yo, bagel, bagel, bagel. What? Oh, I haven't had a bagel in a long time. But I've had donuts, and donuts are, as we all know, the family members of bagels. Oh, Graham, I'm glad you're doing well. Peaceful Pisces, hello. Bagel, bagel, bagel. You're doing spring amphibian exploration. I was about to hold up the problem-solving monster, and then I realized it's not an amphibian. I have an amphibian toy as well. We'll see them in a video soon. Salamanders. Bagel, bagel, bagel. Have you been? Do you take pictures of these salamanders? Can you share them? We'd love to see salamanders. Nerve, hello. It's great to see you. Come on, gather in, everybody. There's room here on the balcony. Yo, Graham, you had donuts with Oreo sprinkles today? That is the practice. That is successful. Caden, good morning. Hello. Oh, you just tested positive for COVID. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Exactly like you said, the same skills we always talk about are so useful around really any kind of difficult, physical, uncertain experience that we're having, especially illness. So yeah, take care of yourself right now. Being kind to yourself, supporting yourself. Dallas, you said you have a lot of snow in Canada. I appreciate that you get to appreciate that snow. I think that's a special experience for you. Yeah, bagel, bagel, bagel. Yeah, so did you share I'll go check them out. Yeah, thanks for sharing the pictures on the Discord. I will definitely check them out. Isabella as well. You also tested positive today. Yeah, I hope everyone, you're all taking care of yourselves. Nerve too. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get through this. Take care of yourselves out there. Yeah, always, because with so many things, just like we do with our brain, right? We want to control, we want to be certain. Yeah, especially there, it feels so significant, and you spelt it out. is being able to say, no, there's a thing happening. There's lots of things I don't control around it. How am I going to take care of it? Peaceful Pisces, I see you asked, what's my opinion on spiritual enlightenment? So Graham just mentioned above that he had a donut with Oreo sprinkles today. So I think he is the person to answer the questions on spiritual enlightenment because he must be now. Machino, thanks for joining us. Yeah. Because Peaceful Pisces, I don't know if you know the reason there's the magic. If you're on Twitch, you'll see the kind of I don't know if I'd call it the core emoji or like the number one emote for the channel is the soul donut, which is the donut that the magical spiritual donut that exists inside of all people. So that's why donuts are spiritual enlightenment. Azulin, you're joining us from India. Thank you for joining us. You started a course on psychology. Oh, and you're going to share skills with others. That's fantastic. Oh, thank you for sharing mental health skills with other people. John, welcome. Love yourself the way you wish they did. You say, I had a mango lassi for breakfast, no sprinkles. No, a mango lassi. Also, I once had a mango lassi donut, and that I achieved spiritual enlightenment. It was incredible. It was like just this, like a pillow of sunshine. It was soft on the outside and sugary, and you bit in, and then it was just it was like they really had put a mango lassi inside of a sugary dough bag. It was wonderful. Oh, Gail, I'm glad the videos have been helpful to you on your adventures. Oh, thank you for sharing that. You're welcome. Oh, Peaceful Pisces, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed You Are Not a Rock too. Ah, Gail. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there you think you have OCD, but you don't have resources to get professionally diagnosed. I mean, we, I find it so important that we can all take care of our mental health in a way that's proactive, like in the same way with physical fitness, right? We don't have to get a diagnosis of an illness to start exercising, to go to the gym, to build capacity. And the thing is, working on recovery is about building capacity. So whether we've had a diagnosis or not, we can still say, hey, I want to build these capacities and these skills in my life. And we can go and do that. El Go, he said, what do you think about spirituality's connection to mental fitness? So I find over the years, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of people who, from many different religions, who have say a dedicated or committed religious practice. And going on the journey of taking care of our mental health can be, a way to strengthen that practice. And it can also be helped along by it. So yeah, absolutely. I find if somebody has a religious, a spiritual practice in their lives, it's really important to look at how to do that, not in a way that's about practicing compulsions, because we can just as easily get into a lot of compulsions around a spiritual practice. And so exploring how to have that practice in our lives in a way that's healthy, in a way that really embraces both the uncertainty and the wonder and what we want to give, not about trying to get something from a practice, can actually be a huge support when it comes to building mental fitness skills and recovery. Speaking of spiritual practices, styled by stickers, welcome to Donut Church. Yeah. Oh, Malls from the Discord. Thanks for joining us, Malls. Whoa, Pikusu, you just saw a fox. I hope it was a great fox. Marlos, hey. Oh, Steven. Oh, I appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you found all of this really helpful. I'm glad these tools have been helpful for taking care of your squishy urge blob. Yeah, peaceful Pisces said there. Also, it's good to make sure that meditation doesn't just become escapism, compulsions. 100%. Yeah. Like if somebody's trying to use meditation to control something or to avoid something, then it's not really a meditation. Then they're just doing just doing avoidance compulsion time. But yeah, it's very common. Um, and like you'll see that like if somebody ever says like, unless I get my meditation in, I'm just gonna lose it, or I'm just gonna, be so out of it or something. Then yeah, like that's very similar to like unless I have a bottle of whiskey a day, I'm just gonna lose it. Yeah, there's probably some other issues underneath there to look at. Sashin, you said intrusive thoughts are increasing. Please advise me for OCD intrusive thoughts. So Sashin, can you explain a bit more? One thing that I would find really important with intrusive thoughts is recognizing that they are not the problem. Right? We can have any thoughts, we can have any stuff the brain throws up. The issue are the compulsions. So that would be my first suggestion: is actually shift away from seeing the thoughts as the problem. The issue is what we do around the thoughts and how we interact with the thoughts. Graham, you said, can bringing yourself into the present moment repeatedly instead of focusing on brain stuff become compulsive? I've been walking away from the brain stuff, but it feels wrong, like unfinished business. Oh, I'm going to get the problem solving monster because that's exactly why it's here. Uh, it helps so because what happens is when we're working on mental health stuff is we put the problem solving monster at the center of everything. And so at first we're like, oh, I've got to solve the monster. And then we're like, oh, okay, I get it. I've got to cut out the compulsions I'm doing around the monster here. Like I'm constantly fighting it. I'm constantly arguing with it. I'm constantly researching online how to fix it. And then we're like, okay, I'm gonna walk away from it. But if we're still really focused on, well, I'm only walking away from it because I want to get rid of it, or I'm only walking away from it to make it go away, and then we're kind of like checking, like, is it okay? Have I walked away from it? It's still very oriented around the problem-solving monster. And so one thing I look at there, Graham, is like in your message there, there's no mention of what you want to give your attention to instead. And I find the big shift is where we say, look, like, yeah, I'm walking away from it, but in many ways, I'm not actually walking away from it because then I'm still putting that at the center. I'm I'm walking towards what? I'm walking towards the rubber duck. And so it's starting to see it, maybe even, yeah, like maybe even when I talk about walking off the battlefield, maybe that's not such a helpful frame because we're still talking about the battlefield, like I'm walking off the battlefield as opposed to I'm walking onto life. And here is the thing in life I want to give my attention to. And putting that at the center. So that's what I would ask you right there. So yeah, maybe ditch how I've been describing it as like walking off the battlefield, because that still is like, oh, the battlefield is important. What are you walking onto? And because then we can actually say like, oh, okay, it's not like, oh, I'm leaving something behind, I'm missing something. It's here is a thing that's really important to me, and I want to give my attention to it. Because when we turn around to go and look at the problem-solving monster, like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I doing something wrong? We're still really putting that in charge. And that's why it feels weird to turn away from it. But if we're turning towards something, we're saying, this is what I want to give my time and energy to, everything else is a distraction. Maybe that would help as something to explore. Yeah, what's the thing you want to give your time and energy to? Because yeah, then everything else, the brain of course is going to go, oh, but like, what if you miss this? What if you miss this? And we say, okay, but this is the thing I want to give my time and energy to. I'm going to go and do it. Love yourself the way you wish they did. You said, I can see the theme unfolding for day. It's donut happiness. So we evolved from crazy frogs to donuts. What does this all mean? Exactly, donuts is the answer to the question of what does this all mean? Oh, styled. Yeah, he said, I got hooked on marking my meditation in one of those apps I missed one meditation after like 200 days and didn't want to do it anymore. Now I just use a timer. Yeah, it's so, I just use a timer all the time. And even sometimes I'll notice that like you're using a timer and it's almost like, oh, but I'm not recording it anywhere. Like, oh, shouldn't I like be like, look, I meditated or something. And no, like we just use a timer. Just the practice is enough. Steven, you said, I've been struggling with insomnia for over a year now, and I haven't been able to sleep. So is there anything you can tell me that will help? So Steven, one of the things I would look at is even just the idea that like you want to spend time checking if there's a thing someone can say that would change something. Uh, that suggests to me there might be other compulsions going on there. Like I would approach insomnia as an outcome of stuff. At the same time, we can also do tons of compulsions around insomnia. I see it all the time. If the brain knows, because the brain just cares about the compulsion, so if it knows we're going to do a bunch of compulsions around insomnia and tiredness, boom, insomnia and tiredness. Marlos, he said, I know motivation is a unicorn fart. It is. But whenever I want to do something, whether it be hobby or household stuff, my head begins to hurt like I'm straining the muscle, like it's psychically impossible. And what do you see that as, how do you see that as being related to motivation? Paramesh, she said, ERP becomes a compulsion to me. What do I do now? Paramesh, it could help to see that you probably weren't doing ERP. What people often describe online as like exposures, yeah, is just compulsions. ERP would involve cutting out compulsions. So actual ERP can't become a compulsion because you would not be doing that. So it could really help to look at, like I was just talking about there a moment ago, what is the thing you want to be giving your time and energy to? And then you make the practice about that. Oh, Becky, thank you. Said, my current holdup is the jarring memory of the initial intrusive thoughts that sent me spiraling. Do you have any tips for how to get past those intrusive memories? So the trying to get past them, obviously is the compulsion. It can help to approach it as like a contamination compulsion, where basically the brain is going, oh, like there was this contamination. You've got to clean it. But of course, like at least most of us, I don't know, like we'll throw it out to the chat, probably most of us here today are not time travelers. If there's anybody here who's a time traveler, just like throw it in the chat. But because we're not time travelers, we can't go back and clean some past things. So that's why the brain loves to throw it up. Because it's like, oh, there's this contamination, go fix it. And so the thing, and then especially if we're going around like, oh, I've got to fix this, I've got to resolve this, I've got to heal this. Really what we're doing there is saying like, I've got to clean this, how am I going to clean it? How am I going to clean it? But then that just gets us trapped. And so the way out of this is to move forward. You see, okay, fine, like the intrusive thought, like it'll be here. Welcome it, take it. Hey, intrusive thought, I want you kind of you get your problem solving monster and your problem solving monster. I'm gonna like bring you along. I'm gonna throw you in my pocket here, and we're gonna go and do exciting things in the world. I'm gonna show you all the things I can do with all the worst intrusive thoughts, and then we do them. Joseph, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for joining us after a long time. Oh, so Stephen, I see even you repeated the question below about insomnia again, and so there's an example of a compulsion, right? So yeah, it could really help to take a step back from insomnia and start to look at the compulsions going on. Yeah, bagel, bagel, bagel. Mentioned, yeah, because Parmesh, you asked about ERP tips for sound sensitivity, and Bagel Bagel mentioned we talked about it recently. But yeah, it's really straightforward. It's to do things you value around sounds. It's lots of fun. Like I used to go to like really noisy, busy places and practice writing important things, because in the past, like I couldn't. I was like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, And like Bagel mentioned there, doing work in distracting spaces. Blooper said, I get intrusive thoughts when I'm working, and anxiety increases when I try to ignore them and work and get bad headaches and have to lie down. I start working again, and the cycle repeats. So it's gonna be about not doing the lie down thing. It's the yeah, like there's a video on my YouTube channel. I can't type right now. I'm on my phone, but yeah, if you look up what is it OCD, European headaches, I think. Yeah, cutting out compulsions, really common. Like we were even just talking earlier on insomnia. I mentioned that yeah, if the brain knows you'll do compulsions around insomnia and tiredness, that's what you get. And so same here, when it throws up, right? You're like, okay, I'm not going to do the compulsion around the intrusive thought. It's going to throw up something else. In this case, headaches that it knows you will do compulsions around. And so each time you then, oh, headache, oh, I've got to go avoid the work, I've got to go like lie down and fix this. It's just teaching the brain to do it more. So it just starts to create a cycle. So yeah, we've got to break the cycle. Gail said, can OCD also cause other mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder? So what you're doing right there is what's known as a reassurance compulsion. So it's very common on Twitch streams on Wednesdays. We've been exploring the fear of losing control. Very common that people fear developing some kind of whatever mental illness they've stigmatized as being like particularly bad, and then they'll start doing the checking and reassurance seeking around it. And so yeah, it can just really help to see, oh, okay, my brain's like, I've got to control this thing. I've got to be certain, and I'm not going to. I'm gonna go live my life and do the things I want to do. Horror story. Yeah, so you said I'm having difficulty handling my emotions. My psychiatrist labeled me bipolar, but I don't believe in labels. However, I do want to handle emotions, but a lot of times it's too much. And so it's starting like there's lots of therapists. There, you know, if it's possible, there could be other psychiatrists that you could work with, other professionals, support groups, lots of great places that can help you learn the skills to handle emotions differently. So really, it's great that you want to explore that, and even that you see it's too much. Like it's starting to look at, okay, why is it too much? What supports can I have in places when it's too much? I recommend that to people all the time with whatever, because yeah, the anxiety, the intrusive thoughts are so often just really overwhelming, especially when we're making changes. And so putting any supports in that are useful to kind of have that difficult experience and then take the brain in a different direction, totally fair game. We don't have to just sit there and try to like, I don't know, like frown our way through it and like make grunting noises. Yeah, Graham, you said this is back to like, what do you want to go to? Yeah, saying I would set intentions at the start of the day and try to stick to that, but I always forget. So taking care of family and keeping fit are my main values. And it's starting to see that, like starting to be able to say, okay, if taking care of the family and being fit are my main values, can I have any other experience while I do those things? And success is just doing those things. And that's all. And so that when the brain's like, oh, but you haven't fixed this thing. Oh, what about this thing? Maybe there's this thing is going to come back and do something. We're able to say, okay, well, that's fine. Like, because that has nothing to do with any of my goals. My goals are to take care of my family, to go and take care of my fitness. I'm going to go do that. And whatever monster wants to come along for the ride is welcome. Bagel. Here on the bipolar question said, I too have been labeled bipolar. I will share with others that I have the diagnosis, but I no longer identify as being manic or depressed. This is after, just two-ish years of changes. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Bagel. Marlos said, I wait till my boyfriend goes to bed to also go to bed, but he needs less sleep than me. So I would like to go to bed early to get the amount of sleep I need, but I'm really scared of sleeping alone. Do you have tips? Yeah, sleep alone. Blooper, oh, thank you so much for the donation. You donated a wonderful coffee cup animation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. Yeah, bagel, bagel, bagel. Sharing more here, saying I can feel mania and I can feel depression, but it's not what I am. What I am is always changing. And then a smiley face with a cowboy hat. Nice. Robin said, yeah, me too. I'm also afraid of sleeping alone and I'm an adult male. Milo said, I see motivation as the one thing that starts your motor. So everything you do starts with the motivation to do something. So sitting on the couch doing nothing is easy and failure free, but anything might result in failure. Yeah, I mean, over the years, a lot of people have fallen off of couches. Just lying on the couch and boom, you can fall off and then you've failed at lying on the couch. Yeah, and so you can see there too, like that's exactly why I talk about motivation being a unicorn fart. Because if you get this idea, like I have to ask motivation for permission to live my life, then of course it's not going to be there. It's like asking a toaster, like, hey toaster, can I have a feeling so I can go live my life? And then the toaster, because it's a toaster, is not going to give you that feeling. Yeah, peaceful Pisces saying learning to feel emotions rather than to avoid them is a gradual process. Yeah, luckily life will often just throw us right into lots of emotions. Absolutely, Isabel. Bagel, 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 bagel. Yeah, Giggle, you said last night I dreamt about waking up, but I was actually still asleep, and this has been going on for a while, but my intrusive thoughts keep telling me I did something bad in my sleep. What should I do? Yeah, so you don't have to do anything, but actually, yeah. So, Gail, you were asking earlier about the bipolar, and you see, I mentioned the fear of losing control, and you see here again that it's the exact same fear, right? Oh no, what if I woke up in my sleep, from my sleep, and I did something and I don't remember? And so, yeah, one of the things that I would, when a client brings up stuff like this, one of the things that I would suggest, or like a question I would ask at that point, is like to go through all of the things you do around controlling, but also all the things you do right now that are about avoiding doing the things you want to do in life. And really looking at avoidance and control. Because, yeah, of course, we want to be ourselves and live our lives. And so then the brain very naturally obsesses about us not being ourselves and living our lives. And so a lot of the compulsions to change are around control. And then a lot of the things to add in are starting to do the things we want to do in life, because obviously we really care about that. But if we start to avoid doing the things we want to do in life because we're afraid, oh, what if I lose control? I've got to go solve this brain thing first. It actually just gets the brain locked in this negative feedback loop, because the brain's like, oh, we're worried about not being ourselves because of some brain stuff, but we're not being ourselves because of some brain stuff. And then the brain worries even more about things we don't control. And it just goes on and on. So we've got to start living our lives. Rocky Fighter, he said, how to focus on work without watching similar videos on mental health. How to pay attention to the present when there is uncertainty. So yeah, like actually in that final question, you might see a useful equation to break. Of course there's uncertainty. Right? So if you believe I can only pay attention to the present when there's certainty, that is like saying I can only walk out of the house if I feel clean. And then the brain is always going to make you feel unclean. And so if you're like, I've got to have certainty in order to pay attention, that's just never going to happen. And so starting to say, I want to pay attention while having uncertainty. Like that's what the skill is about. It's like just like physical fitness. I want to learn how to lift the weights. You wouldn't go into the gym and be like, oh, how can I lift the weights if they're heavy? Well, no, like that's the whole point. Paying attention is only something we do well surrounded by uncertainty and distraction around us and inside of us. Yeah, even now is actually a great example, because I don't know, you probably can't all hear this, but for me, there's somebody really close by just really loudly playing music. It's great music, but there's a construction site nearby, and they're kind of like banging, and there's a saw going, not in tune with the music, and so yeah, I give my attention to what we're doing here and what I want to give. Styled by stickers. He said, I'm getting back into organizing my life because I only think I know how to do it compulsively. I know you'll say to try to do it in a loving way, but I feel stuck, like I don't know how. So one thing I always suggest people as you're getting, organizing things in life, but this is a great skill. Like I practice this. Just pick one big anchor to start. And you can say, look, I'm just gonna start to just always get this one thing organized. So for instance, breakfast. Say, look, I'm just always gonna make sure that I've made breakfast the night before. So this is one I like. And because in order to do that, I have to organize all sorts of other things. I have to organize when I'm getting food from the grocery stores. I have to organize like my time so that I have space in the evening to make something, but also then like I'm going to bed at a time so I can wake up and eat it and so on. And so just picking an anchor automatically requires several other things to get organized. And then, yeah, once you get good at one anchor, then yeah, you might pick two and be like, okay, I'm always going to do these two actions. Oh, and then based on those two actions, what else has to be organized around it? And then rather than be like, I must organize my whole life, because then it just creates a lot of opportunities for failure. Extermination, welcome. It's good to see you, King Kirby too. Welcome, hello. Isabel, that sounds wonderful. He said, since I'm going to be spending at least the next 4 days mostly at home, COVID, I want to give my attention to making my home comfortable and useful to me. That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I said alternatively, I could sit in uncertainty about the disease and other health stuff. There are options here. Peaceful Pisces, you said, what are your thoughts on the Buddhist approach to the middle way? Oh, so peaceful, are there other approaches to the middle way? Yeah, what are my options here? Ekaterina, yeah, yes. How does it feel for you today when you intentionally think about things, thoughts that used to scare you? Yeah, this is a great thing to bring up. Yeah, because I find a really important component. Maybe I'll touch this guy. A really important component, I would say, of mental health work is learning how to touch anything. And I don't mean that actually touch anything out in the world. I'm really thinking about thoughts and stuff in our heads. And so, yeah, I would say an important skill. So I describe it as touching, like learning how to touch thoughts. That in the past I was like, oh, if I touch this, it's bad, or it means something about me, or I've got to do something about it. And so, yeah, now it's really, yeah, like it's just not an issue to be able to, bring up something that in the past was just like either, oh, I can't think about that, or it would set my heart racing. Because I like it would be panic attack territory, and I can't think about that. I can't think about that. It's so useful to even think of all of this work or like traumatic experiences in the past, mistakes we've made in the past, all that kind of stuff. Learning how to touch it, and so a key here is being able to touch it, being able to look at it, and then put it back down. Is so important because yeah, those things happen. Or if it's a thought, it is a thought that can be a thought. To be able to see it, be like, okay, that's there, and here's what I want to go and give my attention to. Yeah, and so one, yeah, not an issue, and that's so enjoyable. It brings so much flexibility into my life too, because I would say even like in working with people, it's totally okay then for anybody to bring up any topic because it's not an issue for me. But then also seeing it's part of the skill. So not just seeing it as like some kind of outcome, like, oh, I want to get to a point where I'm not bothered by anything. It's actually seeing that practice of not getting bothered by stuff is the work. And so, yeah, it can be useful to explore. Like, how can you pick up and put down any thought or feeling or memory or experience? Hey, SEO, said you follow me on Instagram. Thank you for following me on Instagram. Oh, enjoy putting your training into practice. Then he said, But in video meetings, when I have to explain something in front of many people, I sometimes panic badly. I keep talking, but inside I almost die. That's how it feels. I think about closing the laptop or running away. How do you deal with this? At the moment, I don't manage to think about training or my values. Everything goes so fast. And so one of the things that I start to look at is, why do you need to deal with it? Because in many ways, it's the idea where the brain's like, oh, look, I'm gonna throw up a bunch of stuff. And you're like, I don't like this. This could interfere with what I want to do. I've got to fix it. And that's why the problem-solving monster exists, right? The brain is just like, I'm gonna give you a bunch of experiences, and then you're going to waste time and energy trying to fix them and control them and avoid them. But if we say, no, you know what? I want to be the best at doing video calls while having panic attacks. That really, I don't know, describe it, like, I was gonna say disqualifies, or like kicks out, like the problem-solving monster is irrelevant, because we said, no, like I wanna have panic attacks. I wanna be the best in the world at feeling terrible while doing Zoom calls. And then, because when we want to have it and then it's not a problem, therefore it's not going to interfere. So then, paradoxically, it actually happens much less. Betty, she said, so since checking and researching online are compulsions, does that mean we can never check things again in our life? Can we choose to check and search about things in a non-compulsive way after recovery? So even, like the idea of like after recovery can be useful to ditch, because mental health is just going to be that practice of choosing how we want to spend our time and energy. So it's not like there's going to be like, oh, I have recovered, therefore I can now go and do compulsions and it's not a problem. So it's really approaching mental health very similar to how we would with physical fitness. Because you could say, sure, like if you're in great shape, yeah, you could say like, oh, okay, well then it's not a problem if I just spend the day on my sofa watching TV. Yeah, you can absolutely choose that. It doesn't mean that sitting on the sofa for the day is the same as going to the gym, like is the same as going to lift weights. So that's always going to be the choice there. Like you'll absolutely, you could always choose to go and check things and chase some certainty online. It's never going to make it though, like some kind of like you're still going to have a human brain. And so if you do things that aren't helpful for the human brain, that's going to just have very natural consequences. At the same time, absolutely, there might be things we really need to look up online. So what I always say to people is to make sure that it's something that's tied to action. And the example I always use there are like recipes, like cooking. If you say, ooh, I want to make a cake. And you're like, do I know how to make a cake just off the top of my head? No. Okay, I'm going to go look up a recipe and I'm going to go make a cake right now. So there's very clearly, I'm going to get a piece of information that I'm going to turn into the most important purpose in life, making cake. So it's looking for that melding. Even a question that I would often ask myself is like, okay, I noticed this urge to go and do this, but what is going to change? What am I going to do differently with this piece of information? And if it's just, oh no, I just want a piece of information, then yeah, but if I'm like, I need that piece of information so that I can go and do a thing right now, yeah, then I'm gonna go get the piece of information. I'm gonna make myself a really delicious cake. AJ said, as we work on mental fitness and move away from waiting for a feeling to tell us what we want to do, how can we start to develop a sense for what we actually want to do and build? Yeah, I don't know if we get like a sense of what we want to do and build. I would say like life is a wilderness. And again, so just like we asked if anybody's a time traveler, like if anybody here has lived life before, like absolutely share about it in the comments. But I'd say in general, most people, this is their first time living life. So because it's your first time living life, you actually don't know where to go in the wilderness. You've got to be open to exploring the wilderness and hiking through it. And so, yeah, we don't know this, like, there's not going to be a sense of like, oh, this is the right direction Oh, we're like, maybe I want to go this way, but maybe I also want to go that way. And oh, maybe I want to climb that mountain over there. Those are all options. And we pick one and then we see. So, okay, actually, and so because I don't know, I'm just gonna like take some steps in a direction and I'm gonna see. Does it take me to a place I like? Does it take me to a swamp? Does it lead me to a place where alligators eat me? And then I'm gonna give myself trust to notice, like, oh, there is an alligator eating my foot. Maybe this is not the best direction in life. And then I'll go in a different direction and try to get my foot back from the alligator's mouth. Yeah, 789 quickly. Yes, yeah, just our eating disorders about trying to control uncertainty with compulsions. Yeah, like it's it's very rare that anybody uh, is struggling with things they see as OCD and doesn't also have food compulsions. Yeah, like, and there's there is, in the past we had all of these different diagnoses, and there is a movement in mental health to look at a more data-driven approach, and so that'll often clump together compulsive disorders, as opposed to see like somehow that eating disorders would somehow be different because what they're about food, like still so much about control, avoidance, doing things repeatedly that are not healthy to us. And so yeah, I would just approach it more from, as always, like what are the things that we want to be doing in life that are actually useful to us, and let's go do those. And so, because too, somebody that's struggling with eating disorders is very likely that they're going to have compulsions in other areas, not just around food. So the changes end up happening. We need to make changes across our lives. Yeah, Graham, you said that sometimes the earworm feels like a little puppy snapping at my leg all day. It can sometimes be difficult to give my time and energy to values. But yeah, why can't there be a puppy snapping at your leg? What if you wanted that to be happening? And you're like, yeah, I want to, like we were talking about with panic attacks there, I want to be the best at, doing a Zoom call while there's a puppy eating my leg. Aloreza, thank you for enjoying the maintenance session. Gail, I'm glad you found it useful. S said, wondering how you approach constantly triggered intrusive thoughts that make it hard to focus on what you value, work, study. So this a key thing is there you can actually switch the focus from the intrusive thoughts like that. Whatever you're seeing is make it hard to focus on work and study. Those are the compulsions. And so working on that is going to involve cutting out those compulsions. Pom Pom Kitty, welcome. Marlos, he said, what should you do if a topic that is brought up does bother you? Because it scares you, etc. How would you train yourself to be unbothered by things? Well, yeah, so actually, one of the things that I find really helpful to start to look at, so even the idea of unbothered and being bothered, is starting to see that the things aren't bothering us. We're bothering them. So the first thing I would explore there is how are you bothering those things that pop up? Because they just pop up. And then we start to do stuff, judging it, wanting to control it, avoid it, fix it, sticking, attaching all sorts of labels and meanings to it. That's stuff we do. It's not bothering us at all. It's no different than some wallpaper on the wall or a cloud in the sky. The cloud is not bothering you. You're bothering it. So what are you doing to bother it? Styled by stickers, had the promotional message for turning red. I haven't seen it yet, but it does sound great. I've heard great things about it. Yeah, Marlos loved it. Yo, Pecky and U22, this stuff about like trying to make your crush like you, I I mean, it's just like trying to control other people. That's just gonna be a source of yeah, suffering and struggle, and not nice to the other person. So yeah, I'd ditch it. Yeah, trying to make somebody feel something. Yeah, not this is not the place for that. Katerina said, watching videos about recovery is one of my biggest compulsions. So difficult to start trusting myself and just to take the anxiety for a ride. But that'll be the great stuff to work on. Yeah, Jonas, welcome. You said, yeah, you mentioned the importance. Uh, Dr. Greenberg talks about the importance about seeing rumination as a compulsion, so cutting it out is essential. Any good advice on cutting out rumination? Yeah, I find so one, yeah, like it's like I was just talking about there, like when intrusive thoughts come up, looking at the things we're doing to bother them. So like rumination is a great example of that. Something comes up and we're like, ruminate, 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 ruminate. Totally a compulsion. It's one of the things I found so useful with that was meditation. Like meditation is the opposite of rumination. We're going to say, look, the brain can throw up whatever it wants, and I'm not gonna do anything up there. So yeah, meditation is one way to practice that. And then it's about applying it. So it's actually stepping into a situation that in the past we know we might have like started to ruminate on, and coming up with systems where we say, look, for example, one of the examples I often give is around like purchasing something. Like if somebody's buying something, they might like think like, oh, it's good to ruminate because like I want to get the right one, and then we spend tons of time like thinking about it, like what about this, what about that, so on. And it's so useful to see, no, like when I buy, say, like a cell phone or something now, I want to not be spending all that time ruminating in my head because it just teaches the brain, oh, that's something we should do about any uncertainty. So, in addition to building skills like meditation and mindfulness, it's about stepping into a situation and with that understanding that we're going to do this without spending a ton of time trying to figure it out in our heads. And so that's where I find things like values really useful. So setting out a bunch of criteria, like values for even something like buying a cell phone, saying like, okay, here are the things that are most important. I'm gonna take 20 minutes. I'm gonna find the best option that meets these criteria in 20 minutes, and I'm gonna buy it. And because the brain, that's like terrifying because it just wants to spend all of this time just obsessing about like what are we going to do about this, how are we going to solve this, and so on. And we're like, no, I'm going to go and do the things I really want to do. I'm trying to, it looks like I have limited controls because YouTube is on mobile here. Oh, there we go. Now I have. There we go. There we go. Oh, thanks, Little Miss Beats. Gail, you said you've never tasted a bagel before. It's an interesting experience, right? Because even I would say a lot of what's enjoyable about a bagel is maybe the taste that's added to it, but also the texture. When I think of bagels, I think one of my favorite parts is the texture of a bagel. Tracy, you said, I've really recently experienced COVID and job loss, and I was not bothered by the related anxiety. Now my brain is generating thoughts about imaginary problems, and I find myself judging and hating. Any thoughts? So yeah, like one thing, it's actually really common what you mentioned there. You know, I recently experienced COVID and job loss and was not bothered by the related anxiety, but now my brain is generating thoughts about imaginary problems. It's really common. It something that it really helps me to explore was learning how to get kind of anxious about real things. Because this is, and probably a lot of people can relate to this. This is something I see a lot too. We're often so will often dedicate so much time and energy to obsessing and doing compulsions around imaginary problems. Meanwhile, if anything happens that many other people would be really stressed by, we're totally on it and we handle it. And it's almost like this protective measure that the brain has developed where it's like, okay, I'm going to protect you from real stress by being stressed about imaginary things that like aren't real and we can't control. And so it's also then difficult because we're not getting this satisfaction or this completeness to solving those problems because they're imaginary, so they're just always going to be there. And so it really helped to start to actually learn how to be stressed about real things, and make space for that. And yeah, so part of it might just be now just noticing, hey, the brain, it's doing this thing, kind of like a immune reaction that the brain likes to do. Like it kind of, when there's a real problem, it like swells up. And we notice that swelling as intrusive thoughts about things that aren't real. And so being able to start to give that a hug, like, oh, I get it, brain. You're reacting to this other actual real thing that we experienced. Extermination, great practice. Sitting with trolls in the chat. Oh, trolls. Bump Tomp said, I seem to be ruminating on questions like, is this real? And constantly judging how I feel. And then it goes to questions that are like, how do I know what I'm doing? Or why did I just do that? How should I be changing my beliefs of needing to know? Yeah, so I find beliefs, we really change them through actions. So it's not like you're going to change the belief and then the brain will stop throwing up the thoughts. It's going to be about the brain throwing up the thoughts. Like, oh, we have to get certainty about this. And then you go and don't get certainty about it. And it's starting to show it that you're not going to spend time and energy chasing that certainty. Yes. Oh, Jonas, you actually mentioned, yeah, best rumored smartphone releases in 2023 was one topic I Googled last week. Yeah, the perfect example. Exactly. And that's it. It's starting to see, like, in real everyday life, we often are teaching the brain that rumination is good. Like an example, I used to, so in addition to, yeah, how I used to buy a smartphone or anything like that, yeah, if I was going to the grocery store, like I would actually go like, oh, okay, on the way to the grocery store, I'm going to basically obsess about eating the right things and how am I, like, what am I going to get? Oh, if I do this on this time, then I could do this. Oh, but I shouldn't do that because of that and then this. And look, that's just rumination, but I saw that as like, no, I'm planning my meals, but I was just not being present. And so that's so often the alternative to spending all of our time ruminating in our heads is to, yeah, again, be mindful, to be present, and to be with the world around us. Isabel, yeah, yes. Where does the problem-solving monster go when they are not on a stream? They sit, usually right now, they sit on the kitchen table. Sally said, oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for enjoying this stuff. So I'm seeing that it's not the content of the symptoms, but the anxiety over the symptoms with the OCD, which is the real issue. Oh, would you agree? No, so I wouldn't say that. Because yeah, your brain, like we've been talking about with physical sensations today, your brain is totally fine to ditch anxiety and throw up insomnia, headaches, gastrointestinal issues, really, really common. That the brain will latch onto, physical pain, all of that kind of stuff. So no, I would actually say it's the compulsions, because I would see content of the symptoms and the anxiety as both forms of content. Whether you're having a thought you dislike or a feeling you dislike, those are just two things you dislike, and then also adding in physical sensations. A thought you dislike, so I'll often describe that as cognitive discomfort, emotional discomfort, a feeling, emotion you don't like, and then physical discomfort. And the issue is just us constantly trying to avoid and control those different types of discomfort. The brain is in charge of all of them. And so it's going to give you whichever unwanted experience there, that's going to get you into the controlling. That's just how the brain rolls. And that's the problem-solving monster, being like, oh, look at this discomfort, go fix it. Oh, here's another kind of discomfort, go fix that. Here's another kind of discomfort, fix that. And that's all it wants to do, because it's such a good problem-solving monster. There's a little hole in its mouth, which I assume is to let the air in and out. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe it won't zoom in. Yeah, there we go. Oh, maybe. But I wonder if you could put water in there and then squirt it at people. Become a problem solving, or become a problem monster, not just a problem solving monster. Gail, yeah, he said, I really like the phrase, you are not a dog. Do not chase the sticks your brain keeps throwing at you. Exactly. Yeah, love yourself the way you wish. He said, sit with whatever you got. Right now, I got a friend in hospice care with terminal ALS. Laughter at the chat here. A reaction to my fourth COVID booster. Daily pain at about a 5 on the SUD scale. And sit. Thing, like, we are having these experiences. And it's not about ignoring the experiences or pretending they're not there. They are there. And we are having them. Isabel, you said, I started reading a Russ Harris book, and he distinguishes between thoughts, words, images in the mind, and sensations. I'm yet to understand the usefulness of those definitions. Yeah, I wonder if, yeah, like I'm not familiar with what example that would be coming from, or why, because it's interesting, right? Because even like images, even then often, even if there is an image, the issue is then that, like, we start to attach words to it, we start to engage in dialogue, and so then it becomes about words, although yeah, when it pops up it's an image. But yeah, I found it more helpful to just be like, they're all unwanted experiences. KCP said, how do you stay consistent with mental fitness practices? I might practice something, but the brain gets easily distracted, or life happens and I forget, thrown off the path by brain weather. Yeah, part of that is making it okay. Because again, this is one of the areas we see the problem-solving monster loves to go, oh, you're a problem. Like, you have to stay perfect with this. And then we're like, oh, you stepped off the path, you're not perfect, you're a problem, go and fix it. And so seeing, no, like, it's so useful to explore. If we did, end up doing something we don't want to do, it's wonderful to have that awareness that I can actually say, oh, like I'm doing, yeah, like even, so I could think of an example. Recently, I had some friends visiting, and so I was doing like a lot of stuff, like tourist stuff, and then suddenly they weren't here, and I found that like I just ended up wasting a lot of time in the days after, because it's just because of course I had this like really, really packed schedule, and then suddenly I didn't, and I what would have been so helpful to me is knowing, oh, like, okay, after somebody visits and they leave, it'd be great if I like still gave myself the same kind of structure in those days following, because I'll just have been so used to that. And yeah, so we just learn about stuff like that, and then we're like, oh, okay, yeah, like now, because that was like the first time somebody was like visiting while I'm, out on, like adventure/work. And so being able to go, oh, okay, yeah, like I learned something useful there. Next time, I know what the supports I'm going to put in place after somebody leaves. And then be like, oh, that's so great. I learned that. Like, it's going to be, yeah, just so useful. And so that's what we do there. Yeah, not seeing ourselves as some kind of problem, being able to see, oh, yeah, of course, like I'd look like I'd end up, I'd have like my sessions scheduled in, but then I'd be like, wow, I like all I did today was like, do a bunch of like Zoom sessions, and that's great. But often in the past, like I would do a whole bunch of other stuff. And then it was just seeing like, oh yeah, because I got used to having a schedule that I was kind of reacting to, and then suddenly I didn't have a schedule. And so there's like an adjustment period, because normally I'm like, yeah, don't need a schedule. I'll just know what to do and where to go. But then yeah, sometimes we get into a practice of doing something different, and we just want to bring a support in to help ourselves afterwards. Gail. Well, so we have here in our community a really important concept for this. So you said being 18 and handling mental health is such a drag because you want to enjoy life, but you feel like you don't deserve it because all of the stuff your brain keeps throwing at you, but I'm getting better at it. Yeah, and so often that, so also you'll be excited to hear, even people who are not 18 will end up feeling that they don't deserve stuff because of stuff in their heads. I've seen that at many ages, 34, 27 and a half, 52 and 3/4, all sorts of different ages experience this. And so we practice stealing happiness because so often the brain is going to go, whoa, you don't deserve to like take care of yourself. You don't deserve to go and be happy. And so we just do it. We go and steal that happiness and we do the things that are valuable to us and useful to us. Yeah. So enjoy stealing happiness. It is such a wonderful practice. How is everybody going to steal happiness this week and do things that you don't think you deserve doing? Let us, because we'll wrap up here shortly, and maybe that's a good note to end on. What are we going to do this week to live our lives and do things where we're like, oh, I don't think I deserve this, or I don't think I'm ready for this, or I can't do that yet. Oh, Gail, you're welcome. Yeah, what is everybody going to do this week? I think this week, what am I going to do that I think I will take some time to get some interesting fruit and then I'll share it with people because there's so much interesting fruit here that I hadn't had before. So yeah, I think just making some space to go and enjoy getting some fruit. Because I'll have to, there's not a great fruit market near where I am. I'll have to travel to the really good fruit market that gets all like the really great stuff and then share about that. And share it with myself because I'll enjoy that. Style by stickers, you see you are, you're 27 and a half. Al Reza, yes, let's go and steal happiness. Yo, Graham, welcome. Thanks for stopping by to say hello. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. Loomis Beats said you're excited. You're going to start planning a talk to your company. Not sure what topic yet, but I think it'll be about mental health in fintech or something. Oh, enjoy. That sounds great. Yeah, have fun working on the public speaking skills. Extermination, are you going to go and steal puppies? I mean, if you go to a puppy rescue, maybe that's like stealing them, helping them. Yeah, Elariza, enjoy reading that book. Love yourself, thank you. I hope I will find good mangoes. There is, one of the fruits that's amazing. I don't know if anybody knows what this is called. I haven't looked it up yet. But so it's a type of mango, but it's a small mango. So it's a mango that's only about that big. If that makes sense, yeah. Only about that big. But it's so fragrant. But it doesn't smell like what you'd normally, because even a normal mango is very fragrant, right? Like a mango lassi, you immediately smell it. This is like, it's an incredible smell, but it's different from your typical mango smell. But and I don't know how to describe the smell. It's like a totally unique smell. So if anybody knows, actually in the chat, what is the name of the small mango with the really incredible strong smell? Like when you have these mangoes in the fruit basket, and you walk past the fruit basket, you smell them. Like and then when you cut it open, inside they're just an amazing yellow color inside, but maybe deeper. Yeah, a deeper yellow than the duck. And they're just incredible. I'm gonna go and get some more of those. I want to enjoy those. I don't know, I don't know where else they exist. Nicole, no, they are not. Well, I mean, they could be from Mexico, but these are happening not in Mexico. Lomas beats the pip in that mango. I mean, it's not the thing. So they look small, but once you cut into them, they're not like different from another mango. So yeah, the pip is still like pretty. It's still like a lot of mangoes, a substantial size, right? Graham, nice. School is busier than ever. just trying to experience that stress and do nothing about it, no magical rituals, and making time for girlfriend and music, even when super busy. That's fantastic. Enjoy that. Style by stickers, you're going to the beach and sketching imperfectly. Nicole, you're stealing brunch soon? These are good things to steal. Gail, stealing some sunlight because it's been raining for days straight here in the Philippines. Oh yeah, get that sunshine. Love yourself. So you said, I think maybe a custard mango. So flattish, yellow, and wrinkly when truly ripe. Wrinkly. I wonder. Limit beets? No. They only smell fragrant when they're like as the fruit, as far as I know. Yeah. Hayden, you said, how do I deal with my intrusive thoughts better and stop doing compulsions? They're really taking over my life and happiness. Yeah, it's about cutting out the compulsions. So seeing, right, because actually what helped me so much is seeing the intrusive thoughts fuel the compulsions. They're just like the compulsions fuel the intrusive thoughts, just like any addiction. Right? The intrusive thoughts are the withdrawal, and then you do the compulsions to like get the high of fixing them. So you're actually just teaching the brain to give you more intrusive thoughts every time you do the compulsions. So yeah, it's about breaking that cycle. Yes, Isabel, the mangoes are, yeah, totally. This is the perfect size. That's how big the mangoes are. I would say they're smooth. Like when really ripe, the yellow inside is different. It's a brighter yellow, and then as they get riper, it gets more golden. John, a wave. Yeah. Martiano, you'll go out for a walk next Sunday and enjoy the view. That sounds great. Mo, you said due to severe stress in 2012. I'm in OCD depression, or depression, OCD, anxiety, depersonalization, derealization. Lots of triggers. It's hard to continue like this. So I would approach it differently. So one of the things so it's really common. Like you may have missed it earlier. We were talking about how like we latch on to like an event in the past as a type of contamination. So we can only exist in the present. So attaching like present actions to experience in 2012, that's going to cause a lot of struggle. It can really help to see that, yeah, what we do in the present, that's about right now. So yeah, if you want to cut out compulsions right now, that's something you can do. That's not about an experience in the past. And doing compulsions right now, also not about an experience in 2012. Oh, Love Yourself is leftist with a quote from Pink, and I believe it's about mangoes. It says, cover me with sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning and everything will be all right. And we will get really fragrant, delicious mangoes. That's an important message. Thank you. Malika, you said, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it's, always an honor to be part of people's journey as they're taking care of their squishy urge blobs. So yeah, maybe we'll wrap things up there on that note. Because yeah, thank you everybody for being part of the stream today and the opportunity to be part of your journeys with your brains. It's always an honor. Yeah, thank you so much for the donation today. And yeah, may everybody enjoy. I know you have all sorts of like wonderful things you're going to steal this week, so please do enjoy giving the things that you really want to give, but especially to yourself. Yeah, and KCP, I hope you get the mangoes. I hope somehow you get those mangoes that are good. Oh, Gail, thank you for joining us and sharing. Yeah, styled. Yeah, enjoy the sun of springtime. Everybody, It's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for coming on by. Yeah, Lomas Beats, you have a great Sunday too. Enjoy the talk to your company. And everybody, we'll see you soon. So Wednesday, right, we're back on Twitch. We're going to be exploring another installment in the ERP workshop that we've been doing, again, around that fear of losing control and how to really structure it. And so this week we're going to look at what's a topic that's come up a lot today. So when you cut out the compulsions, how do you sit with the really difficult stuff that comes up? Elizabeth, you said, I watched almost all of your videos, but I still did not improve my OCD. Can you give me any suggestions? Yeah, because improving OCD is not watching videos. Getting over OCD involves making changes. So it's really important to approach the videos like watching videos on cooking. Watching videos on cooking does not improve your cooking unless you do the cooking. So you gotta do the changes. Watching videos, reading books, for mental health is no different than watching videos or reading books. For physical fitness is about the exercises, the sweaty changes that we do. Yeah, you can actually not watch any videos at all and still make the sweaty changes because that's the stuff that's gonna actually bring about the changes that you're looking for. Yep. So sweaty change over non-sweaty video watching. Oh, Shalanda, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, everybody, let us wrap up there. It has been a pleasure. Enjoy your Sundays, and whether it's sunny or cloudy, inside or out. And we will see you all soon. And somehow, I don't know how there we go.